and welcome to the Jonesin on the Whim AFC East preview, which is our top 11 for the 13th podcast. Hopefully not unlucky, number 13.
No.
But I don't know if we've had any luck going forward, so any luck we invite. Preseason starts tonight. Saints, Cardinals. We've already talked about the Cardinals. We'll talk about the Saints in the final week of our preview. For obvious reasons, they're the best team in football. But, again, biased. Always.
We shall see.
Right.
You're not going to play that music through the whole segment, are you?
No, I don't think so. We'll see. It's not too loud. But,
hopefully not.
right. It'll play itself out. But we have better recordings than we did when I had music over the Stump the Fawn segment.
Well, yeah. Now the positioning of everything is microphone, us, computer.
Right.
So hopefully before it was microphone, computer, us.
Right.
Which wasn't too good.
And it's just the original two today. Not to discount Art as an original third, but he's off in Mexico, having hopefully a well-deserved good time, vacation. So we will run through these 11 questions. I do have his input, so he's here in print, I guess, is the way to put it. And there it is, playing itself out. Perfect time. We'll go forward with the first question.
AFC East.
And this is for your Patriots.
They are, yes. I'll take that.
Right, and rightfully so. Have the Pats done enough in the offseason to improve one of the league's worst defenses and remain the favorite to repeat as the AFC champions? Because most years they seem to be the favorite.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, let me address worst defenses. Yes, we know they were epically bad against
31st,
the Pats.
okay, sorry. Worst AFC defense.
and yardage-wise, they were definitely near the bottom of the league overall. But as far as points scored, they were in the middle of the pack. Just pointing that out. They gave up about as many points as the Bears did last year. So not horrendous. You know, there were teams that gave up a lot more points.
Bringing the stats, love that.
But, yeah. But I think they have done things to improve the D in the linebacker area. You know, with their draft. The line they lost the D line. They lost a couple guys like Anderson, but then brought in
Stayed in division.
Yeah, he did.
Oops.
They brought in somebody from Cincinnati too, as a pass rusher. So I think they kind of
Or Oakland. Trevor.
Yeah.
In Oakland, isn't it?
That's already going to be a correction.
That's fine. I'll fix it. Go for it.
Yeah. Secondary for me is still a big question mark. So I don't think they're going to have a good defense.
Trevor Price, right?
They brought him in?
Trevor Scott from Oakland.
Trevor Scott. Yeah. Okay.
Oakland.
There you go. Yeah, it's like Trevor Price. He's old.
Yeah, he's done.
Yeah.
He's older than you.
But yeah, secondary is still going to be a weak spot, I think, and so they'll have to just outscore a number of teams still. I don't know if they're the favorite to repeat, or
they are.
I don't know if they're the favorite this year, but they're certainly in the conversation,
right?
And
especially in that division.
Yeah, we can address that on number 2,
right?
Because that works into
right
how good they're actually going to be.
And Art's opinion is his time of possession theory finally works.
Oh, time of possession.
Right. Finally works here. They were 26 in time of possession, so pass-a-thon video game offenses, which are artisms, if I may. They tend to lead to that. So they were 26 in that statistic. So the defense is on the field a lot, basically, is what he's saying.
Yeah,
so
yeah, they are.
It's kind of what we alluded to with the Packers and what I'll allude to going forward. And my answer is it's an anomaly a bit. It's a bit of an anomaly, 31st ranked defense. So, and he thinks that the defense will remain a problem.
Yeah.
And another artism, Video Bill, unless Video Bill is doing his cheating, doing his looking.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I didn't say it, but so he tends to think it'll still be an issue, but not an issue that will affect them, based on you'll see his second answer. But and my answer, Art looked at time of possession. I'll look at the schedule for this year. They play Arizona, 19th ranked offense overall. Tennessee 17th, Seattle 28th, St. Louis 31st, Indy 30th,
Nice.
Miami 22nd, San Francisco 26th, and Jacksonville dead last. They'll be fine on their own right. They didn't need to do anything.
Yeah.
The schedule is helping them, and a couple of those teams have made decent additions to help their lack of offense. But the lack of offense on their schedule is appalling. So again, the anomaly of the time of possession stat, but their issues are in the secondary, and they haven't done anything to improve that. So I still think they'll be 25th or higher or lower,
or
however
worse.
you want to. Still
25th or
right.
more painful. Yeah.
Right. So it's still a weakness.
Yeah.
It still will be going forward.
All right.
And now on the other side of the ball, Logan Mankins, Sebastian Vollmer, currently on the PUP list.
Oh.
And Matt Light's retired.
Yep.
And the law firm is gone.
And what's his name? The guard.
I didn't.
Guard,
Brian Waters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
He's contemplating retirement.
What?
Waters, yeah.
Waters is?
He's 100.
He's that
Played
old?
in Kansas City forever.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So how will this affect Tom Brady in that offense? Not to mention Walker playing on the franchise tag.
Let's see. I get worried, especially because the guards seem just as important to New England as the tackles. I mean, the running game doesn't, it kind of does its own thing, and teams tend to back off on the run against the Patriots anyway. It's the pass rush, and protecting Brady, because
And that's what they've been great at.
Brady, he'll protect himself, if the rush comes. So he'll like take one of those, fingertip sacks, which can just totally derail the drive you're on, And the Giants have shown a couple times that if you put pressure on Brady and you don't give him space to throw, he's just okay. So I'm worried there.
And you should be, and I'll tell you why. Well, I'll tell you Art's first. He thinks the offense will be fine. They plug and play. Walker can be replaced if needed, and Edelman, for my money, is better. He thinks the deep threat is what they're lacking.
So you'll forget yourself.
Because he says Moss is the one thing they'll need to replace, but they've been a season from that, and I think they've replaced that. We'll get to that later. But in my opinion, going with this issue is, I worded the question, but I didn't include Brian Waters. We got to the Brian Waters issue. That there's just going to be too much turnover in that offensive line, especially in the first month. And they play Tennessee, back to the schedule. They play Tennessee, Arizona, Baltimore, Buffalo, and Denver in that first month, those first 5 games. 3 were top 10 in sacks a year ago, and 2 others, Buffalo and I guess Tennessee, made significant additions along their offensive line, defensive line, sorry, to fix that pass rush. So that's huge going forward. And as far as the law firm, he didn't fumble. He never fumbled.
Yeah, that was kind of nice.
And I'm not saying the guys that are coming in
fumble a lot.
They don't.
Yeah.
The 2 career for the 3 of them.
Yeah,
I'm including Woodhead, but 2 is more than none. So it's still and talking about frequency of carries going forward. They're going to run the ball more. I mean, they're going to have more carries, personally.
Yeah, I mean, I am excited to see what guys like Ridley and Vereen can do with more of the load.
Right.
Because Law Firm is steady. He's your goal line back. He doesn't fumble, like you said. But, he's
those backs
he's not really explosive.
And both those backs are, I think, 5+ yards per carry.
Yeah.
So that's a good sign. But it's also spot duty.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So and just, that's to sum that up, I think that that first month's going to be tough. And those, 3 of those teams can beat them, especially with Manning now in Denver.
And their start was tough last year. I think they were 4-3 at one point, or maybe 5-3 when they were waiting for Mankins to sign.
Right.
So that's another reason why I don't like Mankins and Waters being out. Yeah.
Right. And I mean, and Vollmer and just in the offensive line, continuity, consistency means so much because they're a unit. They work together more than any other unit on the field. So So I think it's a problem, and we'll get to their record in the end.
Oh yes, we will.
But on to the other team, another team in the division, the most talked about team.
Yeah.
They
ad nauseum.
Right. The New York Jets. Question 3 of the top 11. Is the Rex Ryan personal remake and makeover for real? Or will we see much of the same shenanigans he displayed in the past? And I'll go forward with Art's he says it won't stop. He doesn't see anything changing. I mean, personally, I see a little difference. He's lost the weight, a little bit of the ego, but he's just recently pronounced himself the best defensive coach in the league, so the ego's not completely gone.
No, I wouldn't expect that. No.
But he's planning to back it up with a bigger role in play calling on the defensive side. So I thought he was doing that already, but
yeah, he's been talking trash for a while now, and they've done well. You know, they've had some good playoff runs, but they haven't made a Super Bowl.
No.
And so it's been long enough, you know, with his system and his attitude that I think he's maybe gotten the message that, like, you know, you're not backing this stuff up, Rex. You know,
right. And the president recently made a comment on Ohio radio they asked him a question and he said, well, the quarterback controversy, that can never be good going into camp. And Rex Ryan respectfully and nonchalantly said, I respect him as a man, and that's his opinion. So be it.
Yeah, there's something to be said for a coach who's a bit of a lightning rod. You know, take the focus off his players, but
he's taking it to another level.
Yeah, and I think it can be distracting with what he's done in the past. But like you said, you know, this preseason at least he's been more muted than usual.
And so I think
not saying much, I guess.
Right,
yeah.
and so I think we both agree. While we don't totally disagree with Art,
no,
we do think he'll be a bit calmer, a bit cooler. But his normal behavior will eventually prevail.
He's going to have a hard time resisting.
If they do succeed, or if they don't. I mean, either way.
Yeah, if them and the Patriots are 8-5, you know, late season, you know, coming in for a game, he's going to talk shit.
Right, exactly. So, all right. And number 4, without Jim Leonard in that defense, on the Jets. It's Jim. Brian Leonard's a running back in Cincinnati.
Oh, okay.
I corrected myself here.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's Jim, really?
I think didn't sound right to me either.
Yeah.
You 4 listeners maybe can.
Yeah.
But I tried to Google it, but without him in that defense, last year it seemed to be a much lesser unit, and he's currently, as I worded this, he was currently at the house as I wrote it. He's now been signed by Denver yesterday. So, can they still be one of the better units of all the stuff that they've struggled with? They've still been in the top half by far.
Yeah,
defensively.
Yeah, they certainly missed Leonard, but he's, you know, it feels to me like a team effort on that defense. You know, they're not relying on stars on the D in general. I mean, Rivas, of course, is there. You know, nobody wants to throw at him, but I think they should still be pretty good. I mean, they got enough pieces in that defense that, you know, this is still a pretty strong unit.
Right, and Art's comments are that, yes, they'll be fine. They're physical. Rivas is allowed to grope. Another Artism. Number 1 receivers, and if Landry could stay upright with his bionic build, he should be beastly.
Just keel over from all the muscle mass.
And the biggest difference in their defense when Leonard, I guess it's Leonard. It's spelled like Leonard or whatever.
It is.
It's Leonard.
It is Jim too. You were right.
Okay. Their biggest loss when he got out of the game, when he got hurt, was big plays. They gave up big plays. He's definitely the quarterback of that secondary, and I agree with Art that LaRon Landry is certainly the wild card there. And he's been a very productive player in the past. LSU Tiger, which we've mentioned a couple of but whatever.
Yeah, but with Rivas and Cromartie, you know, trying to jump everywhere for a pick.
Right.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
I think you got to have somebody like that.
Right, I'm alluding to that.
A super conservative safety.
Right, he's not as cerebral as Leonard, but he's no dummy. And as long as him and there's another newcomer in the last line of defense, if you will. Him and Jeremiah Bell from Miami, who's also an above-average football player. But their main assignment, as you just said, will be to catch those mistakes, those chances that Rivas, and more importantly, Cromartie makes.
Who seems to get burned a lot more often.
Right, yeah. He takes the bigger chances. So that's their main assignment. And if they can handle those, they'll be fine. And I do think those two are up to the task.
So is Landry a free safety? Or is he strong safety?
I think he's...
Because usually, I mean,
strong.
My mental model, to use a corporate buzz phrase, is that, you know, Leonard was the free safety, and Landry, being his bionic build, is more of a strong safety.
He's free.
He is free?
Right, Landry's free.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's...
He's a big free
his
safety.
His build is new. That was I'm bored with being hurt, so I'm going to up for my upper body strength. It was a leg injury.
I want my free safety to be able to fly, you know, as long as he's still fast.
He'll be fine. LaRon, I'm biased, but LaRon is... He's good. And again, the cerebral, not as much as Leonard.
No.
But still there. And I think Denver's trying to go back to their days of when they signing him. I'm thinking maybe he's more that white safety from Tampa.
Oh, shit. Lynch?
Right.
Yeah.
More,
Lynch.
let's hopefully he can, and he's certainly capable.
Yeah.
Of at least 80% of that.
Yeah.
So, okay, fifth question of the top 11, still the Jets, because I could do 11 on the Jets.
Yeah.
But we've been
ESPN's done 100
we've been
on the Jets,
swarmed with it. But it's simple: Tebow or Sanchez.
Sanchez, because he actually has quarterback skills. You got to respect the potential for Tebow to come in and do his change of pace, 3rd and 3, student body right sort of run. That's something he could be good at. But the fact that they're putting him on punt coverage tells me they're not that interested in developing him as a quarterback.
And I think as far as them signing him, Tony Sparano is now their offensive coordinator. So there's your Wildcat. There's your that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's how Sanchez sees it. He says he sees the coordinator who was one of the first visionaries of, and I know was an Arkansas coach, but so that he knows it's going to be here and there.
Yeah.
And so, and I'll give Art's opinion if you were. I'll just go forward.
No, go ahead.
So Art, for what? Modeling
some drawers.
Who to go to the club with? Right. So that's fair. And my first sentence was along the same lines. I'm guessing Jets fans wish there were a third option, really.
Yeah.
And there is, but it's Greg McElroy, and he's more NFL coach than he is NFL.
Yeah, he's
quarterback.
Like the Rhodes Scholar, right? Yeah,
right. And we dog Sanchez a lot, but rightfully so at times. But there's really no continuity at that position, at receiver. Like Santonio Holmes is a nutbag. I mean, he's one of the most talented players in the league, but he's insane. And now Plax is gone, so you lose that. There's just been no continuity. Braylon Edwards is gone.
Yeah,
there's been no continuity at that position. They did sign Chaz Schillens, who's an underrated player from Oakland. I don't know. I think that was his last stop. But and they drafted Stephen Hill, who was that big monster out of Georgia Tech.
Okay.
Much like Johnson was.
Yeah.
Same mold, so he can evolve probably at that position.
It's been a while since the Jets have really done passing.
Right. No. And they've tried to more. They're trying to force it, and I think they will lean more to the running game. So he'll never be a top 10 quarterback. He won't.
No.
But he's better than Tebow. And he'll be in the center 95% of the time. So yeah, we can safely say a lot of these things. But another going on to South Beach where we'll take our talents. It's just Brandon Marshall was added in Chicago. He's a bit of a slight head case, much like Chad Johnson, who was also added to Miami. How will he translate in Miami?
Well, he'll probably be roughly as useful as he was with New England, I think.
Really?
I think he's on the downside of his career.
But he wasn't useful at all. So
right.
I'm saying
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Really?
I don't see much for that's official. His name's Chad Johnson again.
Yes, he's reverted back.
Yeah. I know he's a talented player. He can still run, but
we can all still run.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. I just don't see him as even a decent wide receiver anymore.
Wow. Art says if he has he tabs him as a low end number 2 receiver. I guess that's fantasy and
a high end number 3
and more. Right, and more, I guess, slot. But it's for me, it's now or never for him, really. And his range of productivity is from making the team, or a productive season.
Yeah, no, it's clearly could be anything.
And also for him, I think if he didn't have it, he didn't want it. He's not somebody that seems like he'd have a hard time walking away. So he still believes he can do it.
he's got talent outside the field.
Right. So he certainly does. He's always looked to that. So I think he's still got it. And
I'd love to see him as a commentator, color.
No, he's certainly and he knows
that'd be awesome.
He's an intelligent guy. He really is.
Yeah.
And that's why I think he feels like he's got something left, and he wants to prove it. So I'm gonna go out on a limb. Chad's always been since the beginning of his career. He's been a video head. Like he watches film. I don't know if he does it anymore, but he has in the past.
He better.
Right. And but that's the thing. In this offense, it's new to everybody. This is a new offensive scheme for all of them. Devin Best, Anthony Fasano, who will be eating his catches. They will, but they're all learning a new system together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that'll breed some youth into him, some I don't know, exuberance. I don't even know. But
or it could be a disaster for all of them.
Right. No, and we'll get to their record going forward. But I think 60 catches at minimum. I think he's going to come back and do some stuff. 900 yards, 800 yards. I love him. And Legadoo I had a little joke in here, but I guess I'll read it. But alluding to the new offensive scheme for everybody, for everyone, which means no one has a Legadoo up on the new one. They sign, then they Legadoo. So right. So I expect marginal things from him, at least.
Yeah, 60 catches is not a bad season.
Right, he'll be the number one. But Best will get...
It's not somebody you want to draft in fantasy.
Right,
but,
and their inconsistency at quarterback, their indecision to pick the quarterback is hurting all of them. Because pick a guy, gain the chemistry, they won't do that.
Right.
That's the biggest thing they need to do. And it ain't that rookie from Aggie Land, I'll tell you that.
Oh, but Tannehill?
Right.
Yeah.
He's not even signed.
Supposedly he had a good practice the other day.
Was he signed? I didn't even think he was signed. And it's Garrard or Matt Moore, who I like. I like Matt Moore a lot. I really do think.
Fan.
Yeah, I do think he's very capable. And if they could just make that decision and call it a day, that'll help everybody. But moving on to the third team in that division, the fourth, but probably not anymore fourth in the standings.
We can talk about that later.
Right. Which is the real
foreshadowing?
Which is the real Ryan Fitzpatrick, the quarterback that took the league by storm in the first half of last season, or the player that struggled in the second?
I lean towards first half. I mean,
well, you should.
Yeah,
that is correct.
I mean, we've seen it before where sometimes players, young players, get big numbers in the first half of the season, and then kind of the book gets out on them. The league gets wise to their antics, and so they adjust. But I don't think that's what happened last year. I think just the team kind of fell apart around him, and he showed me a lot in the first half of the season. I got to think he's going to do that again, and it's looking up for Buffalo, I think.
Right. No, it certainly is, and no, I definitely fear the beard, and I'm firmly in the camp of the reason that his decline last year was from he suffered a rib injury, and as a quarterback, that's your release point. I mean, you feel your arm motion, your ribs feel all of it. So that was why he declined. Not only that, Fred Jackson got hurt, Freddie J, and the receivers, the revolving door receiver, they had so many receiver injuries. Tight ends were falling, dropping like flies. He's not going to wow you with the cannon of an arm, but he will with his consistency, and he's elusive. His foot speed, he can run.
Yeah.
So and as they've added some depth at receiver, so the consistency will stay there. And if he can get that, and the Bills are going to be one of the biggest surprises of this season.
Yeah, and what they had starting out there in offense, was a pretty good group, at receiver. And you mentioned Fred Jackson, getting hurt. That was a big loss, when he went down.
It's Spiller filled in decently.
Yeah, Spiller was good, but having Fred Jackson there, that's just an ankle you just gotta be wary of, all the time. So yeah, they got a good core group on offense there.
No, I've always said that offense is playoff ready, and that alludes to the next question. As I've said in the past, the Bills' offense is playoff ready.
Oh, right. I guess I was going to number 8.
And they've spent a lot of money on the other side and on the defensive side. And the draft they focused on defense. Is the defense now playoff ready?
Ooh, okay. Because the defense was pretty bad last year. I mean, can they really make the leap?
A lot of injuries. That team, both sides of the ball, a lot of injuries. They started off strong and both sides, and then injuries just kind of mounted.
Yeah, I mean, I think they can improve, but will it be playoff ready? Yeah, I don't think so. No, I don't think they're quite there as far as the defense goes.
And, well, Art and I disagree. Art says, yes, they have more depth. We'll see about health. Health is the key for me, and I'll allude more to that in MVP talk. But they in the last 2 off seasons, it's been a major overhaul, and I think it's been for the best. The defensive line, they'll get Kyle Williams back from injury. He missed most of last year. One of the best and most underrated players in the NFL. Maybe not the best. One of the best players, but one of the most underrated, especially at his position. They drafted Alabama, defensive tackle, Marcel Darius in the first round in 2011. He's a fine player. And in the offseason, they added Mari Williams and Mark Anderson from your Patriots. So, and
they got Stephon Gilmore in the first round.
Right.
So that was, no, he's apparently fitting in quite well.
He's quick, He's a quick study.
Yeah.
And Merriman, along the line, Merriman's sitting there waiting for obvious pass downs, obvious passing situations. You just run at the passer. So he's not the player he was, but 3rd and 13, you throw him out there, and he's nobody better to get at your passer.
Yeah.
And their linebacking core is solid. Their secondary is average, but that defensive line will mask that averageness on many Sundays. And then Gilmore, a young guy, but he's a quick study. He's ready. He's ready to be a star in this league. The secondary is average. It is.
Yeah. Even with Gilmore in there.
Right.
Yeah,
but those front 7 will mask a lot of that, I think. And this is, for me, it's Denver, the Saints, and Buffalo. The most intriguing teams going into next season. Yeah. Going into this season.
Yeah.
Because so many changes for 2 of them, and just a lot of just indifference to the other. Not indifference, but so going forward, those are the 3 for me. And as we do every week, the 9th of the top 11, the MVP offensive defense for each of these teams, for them to be successful. Who needs to be the most valuable?
Yeah. The Pats. Let's see. Well, we talked a lot about the defense. We kind of know where they stand. But the offense, I want to see what Brandon Lloyd can do in that offense. I mean, that's what they hoped Chad Johnson was last year, and he didn't turn out to be. And as far as a deep threat goes, and so if you add that element to the offense, then maybe the defense doesn't matter that much anymore.
Right,
and they still went 13-3 last year with giving up shitloads of yards. So.
Right, and I completely agree. Art has Brady because he's got weapons, so it's the same thing really, along the same lines.
Yeah, but if the O-line is patchwork, and filled in with guys who just don't have it, then it could be on Brady to reinvent his game and get those passes out quicker.
And more along those lines. I totally agree with Brandon Lloyd. It's a much needed deep threat. I think he can be that. I don't know he will. He's a wonderful player. But if there were to defend Art's choice, if there was ever a time to tab Brady as the MVP, it's now, because there's nobody behind him. There's no experience. There's nothing.
Yeah.
So I can defend that choice, and you'll love my defensive pick.
Oh.
Because it's Chung.
Chung.
Patrick Chung.
Shore up that secondary.
But not only that, he does so much on special teams.
Yeah.
He's such a versatile player for them, not only on defense, but he's in a secondary that's pretty laughable. He is a Pro Bowl caliber player.
Yeah.
And he battles injuries too, and that's where they fail. But that's mine on defense.
Yeah, I want to see how their first round picks, Chandler Jones and Dante Hightower, shore up things.
Hightower's a linebacker, right?
Yeah, he's a linebacker.
From Alabama?
Yeah. Jones is a defensive end.
The lowest linebacker now.
Clemson. Yeah.
Finally.
I'm liking how the linebacker is looking. Yeah. Thank God.
Right.
Because, again, if the front seven's good, you can take pressure off the secondary.
Right. Yeah, it masks all your inabilities.
Yes.
In the back four.
Yeah.
So, and Art with the whole secondary. Show me
the whole
something.
secondary. All right.
Right, and that's fair.
Yeah. Including the nickel and dime backs.
Right.
Which will be out there a lot if we're up, 42 to
exactly.
24.
And there'll be weeks.
Yeah.
I've alluded to the offense you will face. But now on to the Jets. Art has Sean Green, and he also proceeds that.
Or succeeds that?
Yeah, with laughter. So I don't know if he means it, but for me, with the Jets, it's Antonio Holmes. And his mouth has been more productive than his hands. And that affects Sanchez so much. In so many ways. Like, the guy's got to believe in himself. And with that mouth, not even in the locker room, in the huddle so much, just telling you, chatter in your ear,
Mm-hmm.
It's not gonna work well. So it's Antonio Holmes for me. Just shut his mouth. Then he becomes valuable. Because he's a freakish athlete.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the Jets' offense and I'm like, okay, they don't score a ton of points. So who's not playing up to potential?
Top 15 in offense the last 3 years.
Yeah. I mean, they're not
quietly.
Yeah,
that's shocking to me. They don't. Right. It's field goals a lot of times.
Right. So who's not playing up to potential? And I got to go with Sanchez. They need him to take a step up, and maybe Holmes has something to do with that. I definitely see where having rapport and confidence in your wide receivers that they're not going to be running off into the first row of the stands when you're trying to throw them out.
That's a legitimate fear,
right?
Sadly.
I look for Sanchez to kind of take control of games more. As far as trying to score 7 points instead of 3, and just relying on the defense, because the defense has holes too.
And who's your defensive MVP for the Jets?
My defensive MVP for the Jets. Yikes. Let's see. Well, where. Let's go with Landry.
This is why we have a romance. We're on the same page.
Yeah. Well, for the reasons that we discussed earlier.
Right. That's exactly why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
got big shoes to fill.
Yeah. And they're going to take their chances. Trying to get picks, and for the 80% of the time when that doesn't happen. Right.
He's got to be the. Right. No, I completely agree. He's got big shoes to fill. Yeah. Can he fill them? That'll be the biggest question, because big plays were their own. The defense was solid, except they gave up those big plays.
Yeah, and what worries me, I mean, if he's the free safety and he's bulked up and he thinks he's some, Ronnie Lott style killer now, and he's going to go play.
He's going to take chances too.
Yeah, so that's not good.
Right. And but it's also Bell there too, and at the other position. But I think I tend to like the Jets a little bit more than even ESPN does, but we'll get to that again. That's the last question. But Art has the front seven, so it'd be great if Rex's scheme could work. And Miami offensively, he's got Regina again with laughter, but
the fresh fish.
For me, offensively, it's gotta be Jake Long. I like the Reggie pick because he's so versatile when he's healthy, because he does so much for your offense. Mm-hmm. But Jake Long is blocking. He anchors that very underrated offensive line. They've added some new guys, but he's still one of the best left tackles in the league. And whoever they tab at the starting quarterback position, mm-hmm. he's gonna protect the blind side. So it's Jake Long for me. I don't try not to go out of the box, but it's just obvious for me. It's their left tackle. I think everything else is fairly there.
Yeah, that's an interesting pick. I don't disagree, but I might go with whichever wide receiver fills in for the Brandon Marshall role. Can Devon Best really do that?
Not in that capacity.
No, I don't think so. So, do they necessarily need a clear number one receiver? No.
Right.
But
I just don't know throwing it to him.
If I'm right about Chad Johnson being, kind of a throw-in.
You can't say it's him.
Yeah, right. Then it's like, okay, got to have some weapons out there, to make them respect the pass. Even if it is Matt Moore throwing the ball, as we expect it will be.
But I think they're going to tag Gerard, which I think is a mistake.
Yeah.
I think you're with me. I think Matt Moore is, especially the way he finished last year. That was a playoff team at the end of last year. They won X amount of games in a row, or certain X out of X.
Yeah, they started like over, right?
Right,
over a lot.
And they put him on the center, and it worked. And I also like Henny, but it just clicked, and I wouldn't have fired Sparrow. I wouldn't have done a lot of things they did, but especially in Miami where they only care about Cuban food. But my first inappropriate comment of this podcast. But
say hello to my little friend.
Right. So I just feel like you can get away with more for longer there. But we move on to the defense. Actually, our pick right here. We did that.
The defense.
And for me, it's the talent's there on defense, and it's been there, and it's on the field, it's off the field, whatever. But Carlos Dansby is the name, but he's moving to middle linebacker this year, and I think his leadership can be more projected to his team from that position. So for me, it's him. He's got to lead the defense, and I think he can, and it's Carlos Dansby.
Yeah, it is kind of a no-name defense. I mean, Dansby's not exactly a household name, and he's looking through their roster, that's the one that looks most familiar to me.
There are a lot of young guys on the line. Jason Taylor's gone.
Yeah. So he's finally gone. All
right. If Cameron Wake can step up.
Yeah. Vontae Davis.
Vontae Davis has struggled.
Yeah, but
Richard Marshall is a good corner. Well, he was a highly drafted corner. I'm not sure how he's produced on the field.
Will Allen's old, right? He's an old corner, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I put it on their defensive coordinator, making that unit play, together. And last year, they showed a lot of promise doing that. I don't even know who their defensive coordinator is. Coaches. I could look it up. We won't have to correct next week.
Right. That should be on the highlights. It used to be page, but on our secondary. So yeah, he picks the unit. He picks the unit again, and then this was an interesting one with
Kevin Coyle is the defensive coordinator.
Right, yeah, crickets. With the we move on to the Bills now. Offensively,
Bills.
Art has Vic Patrick. So
that's Vic Patrick.
Right. Because he does have understated elusiveness. He's a
very athletic,
fast
guy.
fella.
Yeah.
But of course, for me, it's Freddie Jackson. I mean, his injury, Fitzpatrick's injury didn't hamper the offense, but when Freddie left, it just didn't run as smoothly. C.J. Spiller did fill in respectively, respectively, but he's just nowhere near the versatile player that Jackson is. So it's Freddie J for me. Big Fred.
I'll go with Fitzpatrick and playing like he should have been the whole season. Like he did the first half of last season.
Yeah, I mean when he's good, he's good. But Freddie J, man, he was leading the league in rushing, had the receptions. He's so versatile, and as fans, him not playing, it sucks.
Yeah.
I want him out there. So on the defensive side, this is the one time I cheat, for lack of a better term, but linebacker for me, because the first three, they're starters, solid. Calvin Patrick, LSU, Nick Barnett, and Kirk Morrison. They don't only have to be productive, they have to stay healthy because there's nothing behind them.
Right.
They're really good, but there's nothing behind them.
Well, except for Gilmore.
There's no depth. No. Who's Gilmore? There's no depth. There's no depth. I don't even know who Gilmore is. He's secondary.
Yeah.
I'm saying he's linebacker.
He's the new corner. Yeah.
Right, but no, I'm saying nothing behind them as far as if they get hurt filling in.
Yeah.
There's no players behind them as far as if they get hurt, fill in. It's everywhere else there's depth.
Yeah.
There's no depth at linebacker, none at all.
Yeah.
And Kelvin Shepard, nobody knows who he is. I do because he's an LSU product.
I don't.
Right. He's an LSU guy. He was a monster. And he will be with those other two. But if there's nothing behind any of them.
Yeah.
So,
well, I want to see for the Bills, I want to see pressure on the quarterback. I'm looking at their stats last year, and I'm seeing that their sack leader was Marcel Darius with 5.5.
No, they were a disaster.
Yeah.
But they've upgraded significantly with health and additions.
So I'll go with the defensive ends. Get some pressure on the quarterback.
So Anderson, Mario, and then Merriman.
Yes.
And Art also has Mario Williams. Paid him. Show me why we paid you.
Now it's step up, yeah.
Right. And then
the Texans looked at that contract. They're like, "Whoa, okay,
right? Yeah,
he's good, but you can have him for that."
Yeah, we spent 12 games.
Don't get us wrong, we like Mario Williams, but not that much.
They're gonna feel those depth issues this year with Wyatt. I already heard Watt, whatever his name is,
JJ.
Yeah. So that concludes.
Misplaced his elbow.
Right. Yeah, he needs to find it. That concludes our MVP question. That was number 9. We move on to number 10. Fantasy question.
Fantasy.
Top player at each position in the division, fantasy-wise.
Quarterback.
We start with quarterback.
Move on.
Right. Fair enough. It does, but I will add grab Fitzgerald in later rounds because he'll be there.
Oh, he's a good number 2.
Yeah, he might be a good one
as long as he doesn't have the same bye week as Brady.
And if this offense stays healthy, no, I'm saying just grab him and you might be able to get away with him.
Yeah, good value
going forward. Running back. This is this. All right, but
well, picking a running back gets harder and harder every year in the NFL,
right?
Because so many teams split the load nowadays. You're going with Fred Jackson,
of course, but I would draft every starting running back of all these teams, regardless of whoever they are. I would draft Sean Green. I would draft Ridley and Varane. I would draft all these guys. I would draft. I still like the young guy from Miami who will probably be there every down back. Over Reggie, Daniel Thomas.
Oh, right.
And he had trouble staying healthy, but he was a rookie. Yeah. So,
no, especially in a PPR, I'll go with Fred Jackson.
Especially in a PPR. But
and that's all I play.
It's Freddie J. And then the beauty of that is Spiller's shown his ability to fill in to fantasy capacity.
He can catch passes too.
Right, exactly. Fantasy capacity. So if you draft him, you're looking to draft the backup to handcuff.
Handcuff, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's your best for me.
But he's an expensive handcuff because he's not going to fall to the last round of the draft. So.
Spiller might.
Yeah.
He might. He's been undrafted for years, so he might. He might. But he did produce enough. You're right. That will be highlighted on many people's radar. Receiver, this is intriguing. I know who you're going with. I want to go with him. And hold on. So Art took Reggie again with laughter.
No, he took
running back.
He took Lloyd.
Yeah. No, running back. Sorry, I didn't.
Oh, right.
I didn't do his running back.
Okay.
But
yeah.
So
he took Reggie with laughs.
Right. So
meaning, don't take that one to the bank.
PPR.
But yeah, wide receiver. Let's see. Art's got Lloyd, as I just spoiled. Let's see. Who else? Since I'm still playing PPR, I'll go with Walker. That was a good eye roll. I like that. Wish we could capture that on the audio.
And I mentioned him. I don't recommend him, but I do in certain formats. PPR, yes.
Yeah.
Stevie Johnson's a guy, I think. If he stays healthy.
That's a good one.
And the other guys stay healthy around him. He's the guy. Lloyd is certainly going to be right there with him. I mean, if we think he'll do... what we think he can do, I guess.
Yeah, if Johnson could stop acting the fool on the field, then...
Well, they all like the fool, the receivers, the divas. But obviously Walker in PPR leagues, best in PPR leagues, draft him later, but he'll get you 80 catches.
Yeah.
And but Stevie Johnson for me, and I don't try to go out of the box. This is what I think. I'm not trying to be cute. I do think, because of his prior year, not last year, because he battled some injuries, I think Stevie Johnson's the guy. Just because Brady moves it, passes it around so much and spreads it around so much.
But Welker's got the history of leading the league in
Yeah,
receptions.
tight end
quite often.
Tight end. He's not the best.
Speaking of Patriots, I don't care if he's the best. This is the fantasy.
Tight end. Tight end.
Top player of each position.
Tight end.
Fantasy wise.
Tight end.
Is Rob Gronkowski.
And Gronk or Hernandez is the question. I mean, Art's gonna roll with Hernandez, and
that's bold. I mean, he's a good player.
Right. Either of them are fine, and no. I would draft Keller. I'd draft Fasano for bye week fill-ins, and Chandler has monster. The Buffalo tight end has monster touchdown potential. So it's Gronk or Hernandez. I think it'd be fine if you get either, assuming you don't get Jeremy Graham. But defense.
Wow, I'm not going to mention Art's pick here, but
that makes sense. That sack capability.
Yeah, no, it's
that's why he's doing it. He took the Bills.
He took the Bills,
and it's Bills or Jets for me. It's
yeah. You don't not loving the Fins,
but the difference because Taylor's not there. The sacks, but the difference from the Bills and the Jets for me is I trust the Bills' return game more. I'd favor Spiller and Brad Smith over Joe McKnight and Jeremy Curley in the return game.
Since it is defense / special teams.
Exactly. So I give the Bills the edge there.
I'm going with the Dolphins.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Well,
Well, you got to let me know.
It's no name, so you don't know who to target. They had a pretty solid season last year. And
Did they have sack numbers or
just in terms of points, because that'll get you points in fantasy, is if they're not giving up 30.
It depends on the league. You're right.
Yeah. So
I give you under 10. I give you points. That's it.
Right.
But you're right. In a lot of leagues, it's more diverse. It's more. Help me out. I don't know. It's more involved. Or
is it bigger than a bread box?
No, it's right. My hand motions. No, but
3 syllables.
But yeah, they do scale it out more. It's okay if you give up these many points, you get plus, and then after that you get minus. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
In my league, I don't do that.
Okay.
I don't run it that way.
Yeah.
It's you give up 3, you shut out, boom, it's like 20 points.
You get a lot because it's awesome. But you're not penalized.
Right. No negatives in the way I run. Shit.
Yeah, I could see the Bills being number 1 in a league like that. Yeah. But they did.
Number 1 is sacks, and they're gonna get after the passer. Let me re-mention, Sean Merriman's on the bench to come in on 3rd and 13.
But he's old.
Exactly. But still, just to rush at the passer. Like, I'm telling you, the Bills might be the most intriguing team in the league going into this season.
Intrigue.
I mean, they really might be. And but kicker, yeah. All right, we'll move on. But draft Lindell.
Another Owski.
Right. Then draft Lindell because the Bills are going to be scoring too. Their offense is playoff.
Yeah, just think about dropping them in December when the weather gets shitty.
Right. Well, still, they're playing Toronto. It's cool. Yeah. But standings. We talked about all this. How do we see this division playing out? I'm pretty certain. Number 1 is we're unified at 1. It's the number of wins that we might not have.
Yeah. The Pats, I think, are clear number 1 in this division. I got them at 12.
12. So does Art.
Okay.
I say 11.
I say 11?
Because I think, I'm always going to hate on him a little bit.
Yeah.
But,
and hate on Welker a lot.
Well, I just, I could do his job. Just don't. I didn't have the opportunity.
Feel free.
Right. But, hey, don't try me. I'll go. But I just think Edelman's better. But that's, for me, and that's why we do this. But I say 11. They do. I'm trying to remember their schedule, but they play a lot of decent teams. They play the Texans. They play San Francisco. They play, teams that defensively can mess with them.
Well, it's NFC West, AFC South. So yes, the Texans and the Niners are on that schedule, but
Seattle can decide to care that week. I mean, Seattle's going to be better than people think too. I hate Pete Carroll. I do.
Mm-hmm. Don't get me started.
Right, but I think, despite him, in spite of him, or despite him, maybe they're going to be better than we think.
Yeah.
So 2nd and 3rd for me, it comes down to the final game of the season. Buffalo plays New York. Yeah. It's in Buffalo. Whoever wins that 10th game, they're the second place team. They win that. They're 10-6, and the other one's 9-7.
Okay. Well, I got the Jets at 9-7 in second, and the Bills at 8-8 in third.
Well, yeah. Well, you know this division more,
which is better than they did last year.
Right.
That's yeah. But I don't see them quite making the lead yet. But
I think they
definitely headed the right direction.
I think they pseudo made it last year, but and Art's got the Bills at 10-6.
Yeah,
and he's at the Jets. He was scatterbrained
from 7 to 10.
8. I don't know.
Could be
because it could be. I mean, they have the talent.
Yeah.
So
I'd be surprised to see 3 teams go 10-6 or better in that division.
Right. No, I agree. But the two divisions you said that they play,
they're not
to
great.
Wins. Right.
Yeah.
So that's why we have so many victories. And
no, the division will be above 500.
Right.
I'm pretty sure about that.
Right. But Art has Miami at 4th at 6-10. But 7-8, I think, if they make the right decisions, if they don't put Tannehill in the first month and they stay healthy, that defense, the no-name defense gets better.
I got them at 7 and 9.
So do I. That's where I have them. Yeah. 4th, though, in a tough division.
It's tough. Yeah.
So that's right. So that concludes the AFC East preview.
Wham bam, thank you, man.
Right. I mean, we went through, we got through it, and enjoy.
This analysis was lean, as they say.
So y'all wanted shorter times, we gave it to you.
We didn't even have to talk like the FedEx guy.
No.
Micro screens.
Right. We still dropped what we needed to drop.
That's right.
As far as facts and
facts, knowledge.
So that's it. Keep it real.
Peace.
Listen, love, comment. God damn it, comment. Give me something. Let me know. Because you're gonna be calling my phone when that fantasy starts. So let me know.
Yeah, why don't y'all call me for fantasy advice? What the hell?
I'm a genius. I rarely give bad advice. And if I don't know, I admit I don't know. That's the difference. I don't know. AFC East in the books.
That's right.
NFC East next week.
NFC
big
East.
One. Big one.
Everybody likes
big one.
That's the NFC East.
Big one. Big tragedy today. So we'll talk about that more.
Yeah.
Going forward, how that will affect the Eagles, because it will. It will affect them.
Dun.